As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study Exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
My professional colleagues, friends of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure once again to welcome you to another edition of ICAN on Air for this Thursday, the 13th day of the month of October 2022. Let me start by apologizing that we could not have a full grip of our Tuesday special edition that we promised you. It was due to issues that are beyond our control. Like I mentioned, that the network actually gave us that problem. But we've come with a full package of the special edition of the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference. A rollout of activities that started on Monday with registration. We have the plenary session 1 to 3 on Tuesday with seasoned facilitator that will put together snippets of their thoughts about the topic, Nigeria adopting sustainability for economic growth. I want to tell you that it's going to be an insightful time with us today, having a feel of what it is to be an ICAN on Air. On this note, let me go on a very short commercial break, and when I come back, I will leave you in the hands of our technical team, giving you some of the highlights of the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference held at Ladikwali Hall, Abuja. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
As a finance professional in a disrupted business landscape, what does it take to be in demand? What does it take to attract great paying international roles? If you're an ICAN member, it'll just take one exam. That's all it takes to complete the globally recognized SEMA professional qualification and the internationally respected CGMA designation. As a SEMA member and a CGMA designation holder, employers will look at you as a finance professional, constantly acquiring new skills to add value to the business. That's why they'll be willing to pay premium to hire and retain you. If you have 5 years of relevant experience and are an ICAN member, you can directly sit for the final exam of the SEMA Professional Qualification, the Strategic Case Study exam. Start studying the SEMA Professional Qualification. Prepare to make an impact.
Malam Tijani Musa Isa, the President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to participate in this 52nd Annual Accountants Conference. I welcome your focus on adopting sustainability for economic prosperity. Our world is facing challenges on all fronts. Social inequalities have increased, and economic growth, access to jobs, education, and healthcare. Climate change continues to threaten lives and livelihoods, particularly in Africa. And so the time for action is now. Today's event provides a platform for public institutions, the UN and the private sector partners, to work together towards a healthy and prosperous Nigeria. The private sector, which was involved when the Sustainable Development Goals were developed, must now be fully engaged to achieve these goals. Businesses have a lot to offer in mobilizing financing, bringing corporate strategies in line with the SDGs, and enhancing the use of technology to unlock the potential of developing economies. And they have been stepping up, including by pledging to adopt net zero emission pathways and other sustainable practices. I encourage all companies that have not already done so to sign the 10 principles of the Global Compact. The 10 principles have never been more relevant than today. They are key to sustainable economic prosperity, and it is important that companies adopt these principles into their business practices, as outlined by the UN Global Compact. Accountants play a key role in ensuring that companies take environmental, social, and governance factors seriously, and promoting transparency and accountability. I urge you all to make full use of all these talents to fully contribute to achieving the SDGs. And I wish you a fruitful conference. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that together we will develop a robust structure for embracing sustainability principles and policies across all sectors. The diverse array of registered delegates at this conference creates unique networking opportunities. I encourage you to maximize this opportunity to establish new business relationships. The conference site attractions also promise to enrich your stay in Abuja, making it truly fulfilling and educative. The Conference Planning Committee, ably chaired by Chief Chibuzo Anyanich, FCA, has commendably sacrificed their time and resources to ensure a pleasant and safe participation. We appreciate the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference Committee for your commitment to the cause of our great institute and this rewarding conference. We implore all delegates to adhere to the guidelines to ensure we all have a memorable and intellectually rewarding program. On this note, I formally welcome you to the 52nd Accountant Conference. Do have a wonderful experience. Thank you for listening. God bless you. And God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. At this note, I wish to invite our August visitor in August, our August visitor in October, Mr. Alan Johnson, the president of International Federation of Accountants. He is the leader of over 3 million chartered accountants in the world. Mr. Alan Johnson worked in Nigeria between 1985 and 1987 under Unilever. So he's back home, he's welcome home. Your remarks, Mr. Alan Johnson, please. Thank you.
Alan Johnson became the president of the International Federation of Accountants.
But I would also say to ICAN and the profession, for which we should all be proud. As a global profession, we have benefited from ICAN's contributions both in Africa and across the globe. And I know that there are many professional accountants who are ICAN members in many countries outside Nigeria and also across the world. IFAC has many strengths because we are a global convener of the profession's stakeholders, a global forum for thought leadership on the most pressing issues facing our profession and our world, and an influential voice in critical international conversations about public interest issues. But what we aim to do is only possible with our members because you offer the resources and the geographic reach to make local, regional and global transformations happen. So I thank you for holding this 52nd conference and continuing to advance our profession. Now let me turn to the theme of the conference, Nigeria Adopting Sustainability for Economic Prosperity. And I will offer a global perspective from IFAC on three related themes: the reporting and assurance of sustainability information, the importance of sustainability for SMEs, and the need for strong public financial management.
An extensive skills and experience in generating and assuring decision-useful information that are best placed to deliver on this emerging need. I'm therefore challenging the Institute to fashion and deploy practical tools that will deter the rising wave of professional abuse, unethical conduct, and jettisoning of established standards. The Institute must take the driver's seat in promoting the very essence of our gathering today. Distinguished audience, let me conclude by emphasizing the indispensability of the private sector in our sustainability goal. The government is ready to be an indispensable partner to ensure that desired economic transformation and prosperity are secured without sacrificing sustainability. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my great pleasure to declare the conference open.
Good evening, good afternoon, Mr. Adeyemo. It's my pleasure to guest the chairman, United States of America, of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, here in Nigeria, Mr. Anthony Adeyemo. It's a pleasure to have you on ICAN on Air this morning.
Thank you very much, my pleasure.
I just want you to give an overview of your experience. We are just starting, and you've come all the way from US to be part of this conference, being our chairman representing us in diaspora there. What's your view?
I think, I had a very high expectations, and I will tell you I've not been disappointed. We have a slew of highly seasoned speakers, and the presentation has been very enlightening, enriching, so far so good, and I see there's still a long list of lineups, and also too the hospitality. I see there's a little bit of adjustment in terms of venue, which also too has been kind of very accommodating, because usually we go to the conference center, the convention center, and everything. But this time around, everything is in-house. So that's been very, very helpful as well.
Very wonderful. Just a word for the Institute, being a chairman in diaspora, so that our leaders can take a clue from it.
Well, I think we need to keep on what we're doing. We're in the right direction, you know. We need more speakers on technology, because from all the presentations so far, technology is a tool not only of the future, actually now, but that is what's going to propel us to the future. So I will encourage our institute to put a little bit more premium on topics that relate to technology, both in terms of operational technology and also, too, in terms of manpower development.
Definitely, I can assure you that the 58th president and the governing council will definitely get the message that we should do more in area of technology, which is now, not even in the future, so that we can have our institute placed on the pedestal that we are known for. Thank you very much for being our guest on ICAN on Air this morning. The chairman, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, United States of America.
My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Rolling. Good afternoon, Mr. Mark. We just had a very wonderful session from you.
Good afternoon.
On the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference, talking about sustainability and innovative tech. Sir, we just want our global viewers who are connected to ICAN on Air to have little clips of what this topic is all about.
What is sustainability all about? Sustainability is providing for now, but not putting in jeopardy future generations. That is sustainability. And tax innovation, the way we can change our tax laws and practices to get more tax revenue, and then how we can sustain that.
Okay. We've heard about the innovation from the Federal Inland Revenue Service on Tax Promax, and we're seeing effort that several states are putting in place on the aspect of the states. Listen, what will you say about this development, assisting our revenue drive?
It's a good development. Tax Promax helps you on e-filing. You can file, and then you can also pay. You generate what they call a DIN, and then it is with that one that you pay. So Tax Promax makes it easy for people for several people. Before now, you will go to the tax office perhaps towards the end of the year, or if it is a December year and June, towards the end of that period. And then you find that so many people are there and meeting just few people to explain, to collect the accounts and the returns. So Tax Promax has eased the process of e-filing, that is filing your returns, as well as making payments. Because you can do it from anywhere you are, and it will just go. It's a seamless situation. It's a good development.
On a parting note, sir, what would be your advice to the Institute on some of the things that they are doing to move the Institute forward, being a member of the Institute, sir?
My advice, the Institute is, to me, the Institute is doing well so far. What they have done this year now is to bring to focus innovations, to focus sustainability and tax innovation. So they are doing well, but they could do better. There is no static position. I would advise them to continue in this stride and also innovate some other ideas that will make membership of the Institute to be very meaningful. Of course, they have challenges. You have competing accountancy bodies, and then our exams are perhaps even more difficult, and so that you find that the competing exam bodies, they get perhaps more revenue, they have more people, and they are more in government. But I think we need to maintain our professionalism, which is the hallmark of ICAN.
Maintain our professionalism, yes. The hallmark of ICAN.
Yeah.
It is my great pleasure to have with us the senior partner, Piccadilly Nigeria, who have been talking to Mr. Mark Idrodu, FCA. Thank you very much for
Thank you
guesting
very
us on
much.
ICAN on
Thank
Air.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. It is my pleasure to host the IFAC president, Mr. Alan Johnson, on ICAN on Air for this, the edition for the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference. Mr. Alan Johnson, good evening and pleasure to have you around.
Good to be
I
here.
just wanted to give an oversight, an overview of your relationship with our institute, being president for a while, how we've been performing, how we've been faring as a member of IFAC.
Right, thank you very much for the question. As I said earlier in my remarks to the 52nd Annual Accountants Conference, we've been very lucky because we've had some really excellent ICAN members on the IFAC board and on our committees and advisory groups, and that really has helped us understand what the needs are, particularly from an African perspective. Because, you know, IFAC is a global body, but we need to have the voice of Africa at the table. And I'm really pleased to say I've sat now with two members of the board from Africa. First was General Sebastian Ouma, who was there when I joined the board, and of course Alhaji Ismail Zakari, who joined the board a few years ago. They've really made excellent contributions, brought the voice of Nigeria and Africa to the table, but also hopefully are taking back some of the global issues and challenges that we're working on so they can be adapted and adopted for Nigeria to make this a prosperous country going forward.
Yeah, I want to ask again, looking at the conference of this 52nd Annual Accountants Conference, which is Nigeria adopting sustainability for economic prosperity. What would you say today for the conference?
Well, I mean, sustainability is something we all have to embrace and understand. We are really a little bit too late. I mean, I'm standing here in the middle of a very wet Abuja. It was very sunny earlier today, and I think, you know, we are suffering from the effects of climate change. We cannot deny that, and the time is running out, so we really need to engage on this so important topic. And by the way, at the World Congress of Accountants, which is taking place next month, sustainability and integrity are very much, and trust are very much part of the agenda. And I was very pleased to hear, particularly in the last session that we've just had, the importance of adopting sustainability reporting, having it properly assured by professional accountants such as us. But more importantly, I was pleased to hear that the regulators are taking this very seriously and will put in place requirements for proper, accurate, transparent reporting to make sure that we actually deliver on the sustainability, the 17 SDGs, which are so clear. And if we can address them, we will certainly have sustainable and prosperity and economic growth that meets the needs of all members of society. Everybody will benefit if we get this right.
Yeah, it came to my notice that in the next few weeks, to say you will be living as the president of IFAC. What will be your partnership? Because that might be the last. This might be the last engagement with us as a nation Institute and ICAN. What will be your parting shot for us as an institute?
Two things. When I became president 2 years ago, I said I wanted to focus on essentially two things. One is public sector, raising the standards, the competence, the transparency, and the integrity. The other thing I said is we needed to address sustainability. I'm really pleased to say, and it's not just because I said it, but I'm really pleased to see that right across the world, those two things are being taken very seriously, with, of course, the support of IFAC, but more importantly, with ICAN and other member bodies from around the world who are embracing these very important issues. And that will be, it gives me a source of comfort that as I leave IFAC and hand over to, hopefully, my deputy, who will be, I hope, elected in 5 weeks' time to take over from me, Asma Resmouki, who's from Morocco. She will be our third female president. I'm really delighted that I'm handing over to such a wonderful person who will take this forward and will work with all of you and all of your member bodies around the world to drive the agenda forward and keep us on track.
Yeah, from ICAN On Air team, we sincerely want to congratulate you for a successful tenure in the last 2 years. It's been a wonderful time. And I want to say thank you for creating time to be our guest on ICAN On Air, the Annual Accountant Conference edition. Thank you, Mr. Alex.
Thank you. It's really my pleasure to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure this afternoon to have with us one of the facilitators at the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference for this ICAN On Air program today. Please, can we meet you?
Okay, I am Kabir Garba, Director Internal Audit, Africa Finance Corporation.
Yeah, we just finished another plenary session talking to about entrepreneurship, sustainability for economic prosperity. I just want you to speak to the topic and the position of AFC, even to entrepreneurs, so that our viewers for ICAN On Air can benefit from this.
Okay, so we are all quite aware that the world is changing with the global climate change, and everything has to change. The way we do things, the way we operate, the way we live, because it has about 4 dimensions. When you look at the human side, then we need to do a lot about intellectual capital. How do we improve our people? Secondly, about the society, we need to make sure whatever we do, we take care of the society, quality of how we live, the well-being of our people is very, very key. Likewise, the environment. As you know, Nigeria is more natural resources based. What we do is through the natural resources we're endowed with in terms of our development. So to have a sustainable economy that is really progressing and growing, then we need to make sure that we take care of our environment, which warehouses both minerals, metals, heavy metals, transition metals, and also precious metals. There's vast quantity of gold in this country. We do have a lot of minerals, cobalt that can be done for battery and what have you. So sustainability is very, very key. And that's why the theme of this conference is really, really tropical and apt. And I have to give ICAN credit for the choice of this theme of this conference, for bringing this all-important topic to the front burner at this point of our national life. So to an accountant, what are those things that need to change? There are about 3 things that we need to do. 1 is around capacity. 2, to have that business mindset. And 3, to ensure that there's enough backing, there's enough funding for them to realize their dreams in terms of being entrepreneurs. In terms of capacity, they need to have a new mindset in terms of what knowledge. Having the certificate alone, acquiring ICAN certificate is just the beginning. But it's a good and excellent stepping stone. But you need to do more. There is a lot of literature outside there in terms of what needed to be done, in terms of data analytics, sustainability, climate risk, and what have you. And in terms of strategy, assurance, and in terms of climate emission monitoring. Accountants have a huge role to play, and they need to get themselves ready for that.
Thank you very much, and that, I believe, our viewers definitely will tap from, preparing themselves for the next level. And with the support of AFC, with you as a member there, I want to believe that our members will definitely tap on it. It's my pleasure guesting you on ICAN on Air for this conference edition. Thank you very much, Mr. Cavalry.
Thank you so much for having me. AFC will be there for you in terms of patronage, in terms of supporting you in the journey. So we'll always be there for you. Thank you for having me on this forum.
Thank you. You're welcome, sir.
Okay.
Good afternoon, sir. It is my pleasure this afternoon to have with us Mr. Fatai Folarin, the CEO, Deloitte Nigeria and West Africa. My pleasure to have you on this show today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I listened to you very well during the plenary session 5, and something was up because we discussed entrepreneurship program. What would be your advice, being the chief executive officer of one of the big four, for our professional in the current age where we are talking sustainability?
Thank you very much. It's a reality. And when you talk about sustainability, you're actually looking into the future. Because you are looking at today and you are projecting yourself into the future and you are more or less preparing the business, the organization, and everything that we have for the future. So sustainability is about everything that borders on human endeavor. So you cannot take any aspect of our lives and say it doesn't have an element of sustainability. So for ICAN to bring up this topic at this time, I think it's actually laudable. We should commend the organizers, commend the council, and everybody within ICAN for bringing this to the attention of everybody. Now, what should we be thinking about as an accountant? I think the first line of thought is to ask ourselves as accountants that the world has moved on. The world has changed. It's no longer the adding up of figures and numbers that we used to do, or some of us were trained with, but the reality of what do we do with the numbers. As one of the first line of people that receive financial information about an organization, data and other things that we have, what are we doing with it? How are we adding values to the organization that we're working for? Whether we are working as professionals or working in the industry, we should be able to start thinking, how do we add values to those information available to us? That's number one. The second one is, what kind of thinking are we having for the future of the organization or environment to which we work? And that's why you look at sustainability as a subset of ESG, environment, society, and governance. Those are three elements that you cannot remove an accountant role. You can't remove an accountant role from the issue of environment because you're going to look at the environmental impact of the work or what we do within our society. It affects us. Are you going to look at the societal impact of what we're doing? What does it create? What kind of people do we recruit? How do we contribute to the society that we work for and society to which we operate? It's necessary for our accountant to do, and we can be able to provide information for our people, for the environment, for the company that we operate. When you look at the governance, governance issue, without the governance in an environment, the organization is as good as dead. Because you're going to have monsters, you're going to have all manners of things. But with the kind of information that's available for accountants, you can be able to research, you can be able to provide organization insight, you can be able to come and talk about the independence issues that revolves around the organization, and so on and on, that is very available for us. So accountants needs to remember that sustainability is not something above the top, but something that they should worry about.
Okay, thank you very much for this. Before I let you go, you've been a very good support to the Institute. What do you think that we need to do as an institute to even add more value to our members?
Well, first of all, as somebody said in the room, with the ICAN certificate, FCA, ACE, it's a beginning. It's a necessity for us to continue to educate ourselves. Knowledge, there's no end. We need to continue to educate ourselves. One. Two, we need to appreciate the changing environment to which we operate. And as an accountant, we must continue to adapt ourselves to those realities. And another part of it is we must be aware of the environment we operate. If you are not aware of the environment, risk will confront you. You are not likely to see it. If you are not aware, you have issues of judgment. And the moment an accountant has issues of judgment, then it calls to questions his ability. It calls to question about his professional callings. So that is also important. The next one that is very important is be an enabler of success in your organization by adding values. The way you can add value is see things ahead, present it to the organization, and contribute to the growth and development of the society to which you belong. We cannot work in isolation of that. The days of accountants focusing on the numbers is gone. We need to be aware, and things have changed.
I'm sure our viewers have actually benefited, and those that have not attended this conference, we know that they have missed greatly out of this. And it is my great pleasure to have had with us on ICAN on Air for today, Mr. Fatai Folarin, the Chief Executive Officer of Deloitte, Nigeria and West Africa. Thank you for. Okay. Good afternoon, Alhaji Aziz Alatoy FCA, the Managing Partner, Essential Consulting Services. We
Good
just
afternoon,
heard your thoughts on the sustainability and innovative tasks. We want our viewers to have a feel of it on ICAN on Air. Can you give us a little insight into this topic?
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. What we are discussing actually is sustainability and the economic growth, of which taxation is an integral part of it. So the starting point really is to look at what the plan has been over the past 22 years when we had the Millennium Development Goal, those 8 points, and then additional 9 points in 2015 to make it 17 points. That development came up in the year 2000. Again, Nigeria also had a Vision 2010, as at that time became 10 years. And we were trying to look at what we achieved in that first 10 years. And we can see that it's still like almost wanting to start, in year 2010. Again, we have a year 2020. And so that's another 10 years opportunity. We also try to evaluate what we achieve. We also see that we are yet to start. Now, this is year 2022. And we are looking at what we will achieve, by the end of the Millennium Development, goal, now, which is now Sustainable Development Goal, that is going to end by year 2030. So we have just only 8 years. Now, that takes us to sustainability and innovative tax, that we are looking at. What are the challenges we're having with tax? And the first thing we need to look at is the attitudinal issue generally, because people need to be loyal, to the country. Unless people are loyal to the country, things will not be done rightly at the leadership level, at the management level, as well as the followership level. So this is the first thing. The second thing we look at is the legislative framework. We need to get the legislative framework right. Most of the tax laws do not have their roots in the Constitution. And basically all the tax laws, as a matter of must have their root in the Constitution. The agencies that are going to be administering taxes must be well spelled out. All these are the legal, the constitutional framework that will be required, and the legal, framework. We are also looking at the issue of policy and avoidance of multiple, taxation. It's also another very important point. We're also looking at the administrative procedure compliance. For instance, if we look at the technology aspect, which is very important in generating more revenue by capturing people into the tax net, there must be consistency in the technology we will be using. For instance, we are using iTax before, but after the chairman that introduced iTax left within the 8 years, then we have to deal away with that. Now we are now on the tax, Pro Max. So this tax Pro Max is something we should embrace and be using. It shouldn't be that after 8 years, when the new chairman comes in, then he will then change the tax Pro Max to Pro Max tax, and then we start another, software altogether. So these are all the things that we are looking at for sustainability. And if we do things right, we improve on the value system, and consider all these key things, we are going to have a very good and a robust tax system in year 2030.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure guesting Alhaji Aziz Alatoye, FCA, who is one of our discussants during this 52nd Annual Accountant Conference. It's a pleasure to have you on ICAN on Air.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Martin Soloja, the Managing Director, Editor-in-Chief, Guardian Newspaper. It's a pleasure to guest you on ICAN on Air today. Let me ask, we just finished the first plenary session on the Nigeria adopting sustainability for economic prosperity, and I heard some of your discussion. Well, our viewers who are globally connected, we want to let them know in a few minutes some of the things that we need to do as a nation.
You know, some of the first things that we need to address, as I said earlier, is our leadership question. We need to address leadership question, because if we do not address the leadership question, every other thing will not be in place. Because just as I quoted the iconic Chinua Achebe, I refuse to say the late Chinua Achebe in his book, The Trouble with Nigeria. He says that the trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership since 1983, and it's still failure of leadership. If we have the right leader, within 6 months, things can begin to happen, and here is why. The late General Murtala Mohammed ruled for only 6 months, and he created the Nigeria's capital we are proud of today. 6 months. It was 6 months of power, and the robust foreign policy trust that we can always remember was put in place by him. It was he who rallied African leaders against the G7 in Angola, and he read to them on 11th January, on Sunday, 11th January 1976, just a month before he was killed, that all those African leaders struggling to dominate whatever was happening in Angola, that Africa has come of age. And when they asked all other African leaders to speak, they said, no, Nigeria has spoken, Africa has spoken. The man was in power for only 6 months. In other words, if we can address our leadership issue, the sustainability question that we have been addressing here will be wiped out. Everything will come with good leadership. Good leadership will lead to building of strong institutions, and not just strong men all over the place. Strong institutions. It is the strong institutions you need to address sustainability issues that we have been talking about.
Thank you very much, sir. Before I allow you to go on this episode of ICAN on Air, I want to ask, what would be your advice for an institute like ours, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, knowing fully well that will play a focal role in the development and growth of the nation?
You know, one of the discussants, and I think that sister, Tommy, talked, I think she spoke boldly when she said that even we accountants as physicians, we need to heal ourselves. She talked to that. And that is the focal point. You know, I have a book, Public Sector Accounting by Akinwumi Ambode. He wrote a book. He himself is a member. He wrote a book on public sector accounting. And I also have records. I'm so document-minded that I have these financial instructions that they use in the public sector. Just as she said there, you know that the Accountant General, or immediate past Accountant General of the Federation, was arrested and even put in detention for some time. He's a member of this institute. And when such, it's not a member? Oh, it is very good that it's not a member.
He's not a member of our institute.
Oh, it is good to know that. But you know, because he held that office, I was covering the public sector when Mr. J.K. Nayejo, who I know is a member, very strong member, an old member of ICAN, was Accountant General of the Federation. And he put in place a policy trust to the extent that Accountant Generals and others will always be members of ICAN. So I don't know what happened when that one got into the system. Just
Part of the leadership.
Part of the leadership I've been talking about. So I think that because of the way our country is, members of ICAN are respected professionals. They should use this kind of forum to make a strong statement to the leadership without addressing anybody, by addressing the nation, by addressing the institutions of governance that have to do with public finance system, in a way that they should know that part of the problems in the public sector is public sector accounting problem, public sector accounting. Because how is it that it is so easy to steal public fund? In other words, this body should address the leaders, our leaders at all levels, to take care of their public finance system in such a way that a mechanism will be in place for people to find it difficult to steal public funds. Our income is low, but the way they steal look at our oil revenue. It has been, the energy sector has recorded that 80% of our crude is stolen. How is it stolen like that? That won't be detected. We have institutions like EFCC, ICPC, Code of Conduct Bureau, Code of Conduct Tribunal, and all of they are there. It should be prevented. In other words, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria should get a position paper. It may not be just public like that. As people are seeking to lead the country from May 29, 2023, they should find a way of setting up a committee to address the loopholes in the public sector accounting that will prevent people from stealing public funds, and also that we enable this institute to punish their members who are accessory after the fact of stealing public funds.
That's a very wonderful submission, and I'm sure that our 58th president and the governing council of our institute will definitely take today. It is my great pleasure to host Mr. Martins Onoja, the managing director, editor-in-chief, Guardian newspaper, on ICAN on Air today, the conference edition. Our pleasure, and I know one of these days we'll have it on our session to do justice to a topic that will address both our members and the public in general. Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Oops.
I want to believe that you've had a very insightful time today on the special edition of ICAN on Air, where we have brought to you snippets of the activities that happened during the 52nd Annual Accountant Conference. Let me tell you that this program will be coming up again next week, Tuesday, with a topical issue and a seasoned facilitator that will be talking to us on a topic that you want to hear. I leave you in the hands of the Almighty God, that you remain safe while I connect with you next week, Tuesday. I remain your anchor, Olusesan Okwade, FCA. Bye for now.